retiring from her third career, and I am going to miss her more than she knows, which is why I'm probably going to be on the phone to her every day. So Connie, I want to thank you again for all the help you always give me on my lectures. You are a peach, and I love you. So just a couple of tidbits. In next month, on June 22nd, from 10 to 4, is our home tour. It is on the sheet of paper that was sitting on your chair, I hope. After we are done, Connie has the ability to sell you tickets, and they are cheaper if you buy them in advance. Yay! So if you would like a ticket, please do so. What else? Also, Connie will have memberships. As you know, this is part of our fun and free lecture series, but that doesn't mean it's free to put on the lecture series. And memberships, your donations, all of that helps us pay to put all of this on for you. So if you're at all interested in a membership, and they're ungodly cheap, I promise, Connie has the ability to hook you up with the membership. Let's see, the other thing, if you like this lecture, and hopefully you do, even though this is a free lecture and you are under no obligation to contribute, there is a little donation fishbowl jar at the front, and anything you feel like putting in it that looks like money, please do. And I wanted to thank Julia Meek with WBOI, whose call letters I always have to remind myself of because I'm getting old. She did a wonderful piece on this lecture, and I'm always eternally grateful for her support of art. She has been fabulous. So thank you, Julia. And thanks to Cinema Center. They do a great job. And for those of you who are into concessions, I highly recommend the popcorn. So we will do another lecture series next January through May. So if anybody has any great ideas, please let me know. I have some ideas of my own, but you know, it's just me, and I would always love to have other people's concept of what might be interesting out there in the world, so please let me know. And without further ado, this is a house in a box. I became really interested in this subject, and I tried really hard. Come on in, ladies, don't be shy. I tried really hard to condense this. I am a photograph junkie. Only half of the photos I took are actually in the slide presentation, and when I get done, you're going to be really grateful I only put half of them in. But I couldn't help myself. I think I probably spent about 10 or 15 hours photographing the various Sears kit houses in town. There are some really wonderful ones. One of the owners of the wonderful ones is here. There are some that have really fallen on hard times. I estimate, rough estimate, there's maybe 60 to 65 of them in Fort Wayne. And I tried to take photographs, first of all, of ones where multiple people built the same house. So you could look at the catalog, then you could look at the house, and we can kind of go back and forth and see what it is that looks familiar. And then there were some that I just loved, which I always do. I always have my favorite, so I had to photograph those as well. So anyway, Sears. Sears is an interesting company. For generations of Americans, the Sears catalog was the place to find everything in the world, from clothes to home furnishings. I see a lot of faces of people out there, and you know, feel free to walk in front of me. You're not going to bother me. Grab a seat anywhere you can find one. I'm old enough to remember Christmas and the Sears and J.C. Penney catalog. And just so I don't feel completely and totally ancient, did anybody else make their Christmas list out of the Sears and J.C. Penney catalog? Thank God. Montgomery Ward as well, but in our family we were Sears, Roebuck, and J.C. Penney. So the first Sears catalog was actually published in 1856, and for millions of Americans it was the place to shop for everything, especially people who lived more rurally and didn't have access to a lot of stores. And for those who lived rurally and had an outhouse, my family tells me that the Sears Roebuck catalog came in really handy for that as well. But as I started to do this lecture, I also found out that Sears published a realm of specialty catalogs. So if you wanted to buy farm wagons, tombstones, washing machines, baby carriages, watches, jewelry, or millwork, Sears had a specialty catalog for each and every one of those things. So beginning in 1908 and until about 1940, Sears and Roebuck was also the place to buy your home. It was literally a house in a box, or probably more accurately, a house on a rail car. Sears took upon themselves the concept of fulfilling the American dream that every American still has, and that is to own your own home. So, this is a copy of the front of one of the Sears Roebuck catalogs. I actually found this home, the Crescent. It is located in Fort Wayne, and we will see it later. I also want you to remember the words honor built. So, there were several other companies that sold houses. Somebody mentioned Montgomery Ward. Aladdin was another. But by far, Sears was the best seller of these basically prefabricated houses. And by the time they were done, over 450 designs had been made available to the American public. And you could buy everything from, and I found photos of everything except the last one, which I found was the cutest, sorry. This is the Own Your Own Home. So this was in their catalog. And this is all the reasons you should buy a Sears house. And basically it says, the basic bottom line is, why pay rent? So, what kinds of things could you buy from the Sears catalog? You could buy what they call a small house. This is the Hudson. This house sold for $499. You could buy a garage. You could buy a barn. And this is not the only barn. There were several models you could buy. You could buy a mansion. And this is a slight take on Mount Vernon. This is the Jefferson. This is another one, and you can tell by the price compared to the little, the small house that we had at the beginning. This one's almost $2,300. You could buy a summer cottage, and we'll talk a little bit about those later. So this summer cottage is $680, and as you see I got this brand new pointer, it's so much fun. You can see the special options down here, and we'll talk a little bit about those too. You could buy a summer cottage. You could buy, if you were in business, a duplex. This one is top and bottom, so there's a different, this is a two residence. You could also buy a duplex side by side. You could buy a Frank Lloyd Wright inspired design. This is the Aurora. Isn't that pretty? Looks a little bit like somebody's house that's here, yeah? Or you could buy the Carlton. And one of the nice things they did, and I know these are hard to see, I did the best I could, but they would also give you shots of the interiors furnished, so you could get an idea of what your house would look like. The one I could not find that I like the best is for $152, you could buy a chicken coop. So by 1925, Sears had sold about 30,000 houses. By 1925, they sold 30,000. By 1930, they'd sold 50,000. And by the time they got done, I've seen different figures, somewhere between 70,000 and 100,000 homes all across the United States. What started all of this was Sears catalog that sold building materials. They sold building materials from 1895 to about 1900, but they never did real well with that. They were trying to find a way to make a little bit more money, so in 1908, they came upon the idea of putting together what I call a kit house. The first catalog was called the Book of Modern Homes and Building Plans. And when we get all done, I bought for myself a replica of one of the catalogs, and I have it for you to take a peek through. So at the beginning, there were 22 styles. They ranged in price from about $650 to about $2,500. And to give you a concept of what money was, even though the dates are not entirely the same, the best thing I could come up with was in 1926, a brand new Model T Ford was $290. So that little house you saw at the beginning was roughly only 2 times the price of a car. All you needed to buy this house was, number one, you needed the land. Number two, almost all of these sit on a basement, so you needed to have it excavated. And you needed to get utility hookups, and then you needed to get the labor to actually put the home up. Everything else, or almost everything else, was included. So I want to go through some of the things that are included. Number one, the millwork is included, and this is really special. So you can see here we've got doors, we've got French doors, we've got interior doors, we have all kinds of goodies. The things that were included were the specifications, the instructions, the roofing, the lumber, the built-ins, everything down to the nails. It included the millwork. Here's some more doors, and these are honor-built doors. Flooring, siding, downspouts, doors, windows, shutters, hardware, paint, and varnish. You could even pick from a palette of paint colors the color that you wanted your house to be. You could also get, as an option, screens, storm doors, plumbing, heating, electricity, and lighting. So I found the lighting fascinating. I have no idea why, but I did. There's some more lighting. And these are the hardware. All your door hardware for your swinging doors, your windows, your pulls. You can get all these little goodies. They would even give you a cost estimate for labor and excavation. And if you were really handy, they touted that the plans that you got were specific enough that you could actually build this home yourself. Apparently it came with a 75-page instruction manual. So, by 1930, Sears would even supervise the building of your home. Here's some really nice, I love these photos, sorry, I'm a photo freak. The one up here, which I'm trying to do on the side, but I think these are like mirrors for your bedroom or your bathroom so you can see what you look like, but you can get a fireplace. Here's some built-ins. This is like one of those little breakfast nooks that they have in houses. These are kitchen cupboards. You can get all kinds of little goodies. And frankly, Sears' marketing plan was a true thing of beauty. In order for people to take advantage of their products, by 1911, they even began offering people loans. So Sears would actually become your bank and loan you the money for the purchase of your home. By 1918, you could get an advance for the purchase of your home, and eventually they would even loan you money for the purchase of the lot that your home went on. So, marketing. Their marketing was basically based on their reputation. I mean, at this time, Sears, Roebuck, and I don't even know if there is a Sears store anywhere in the country, but back then, Sears was your basic. They had a reputation for quality. They had a reputation for selling things at a reasonable price. They had a guarantee, which I will show you later, that basically said with every house sold, if you're not satisfied, we'll give you all of your money back. And the speed of construction of a Sears home. I want you to remember that at the time that these houses were first shipped, there was no such thing as a power saw, so everything was done by hand. So the average number of parts, excluding the nails and screws, was about 30,000. So there were about 30,000 parts to one of these homes. About 750 pounds of nails. 27 gallons of paint came with your house. So the lumber came all pre-cut, it was pre-numbered, and everything but fancy finishes like your paving stones and some of the brick came with this house. And because the lumber was pre-cut and it was all numbered, it was so much easier and quicker to put up this house than it was your average house. So what Sears could advertise to people was not only could you fulfill the American dream, but you could fulfill it at 40% less cost than if you hired normal folks to do your home. Let's hope this is the one I'm looking for. Oh, it is. I love this slide. So anyway, this is a small house. And what they said was that a small house could be erected in 352 carpenter hours versus 583 for your normal home. So this is what you're looking at. They drop everything off, then you're starting to see the shell of the house. Look at the little clock there, by the way. And within 8 hours, you've got a building. They boasted that you could do this in this small house in 8 hours. They said that any workman or carpenter could understand their plans, and Sears, they touted, was a splendid investment with large returns. And like I said, their marketing plan was fabulous. Their catalogs also come with testimonials, and I put so many of these in, I'm sorry that you can't read them all, but basically what people would do is they would write in about the houses that they built with a picture of the house to tell you how fabulous their house was, how easy it was to put up. And there was not just one of these in every catalog. There were like 10 of them at the beginning of every catalog. So you had all of these testimonials. They also came with photos on what the interior of your house could look like. And they did this for two reasons. Some people have a hard time visualizing what a house looks, and I'm sorry to turn my back on you, I apologize, but there's no other way to do this. Some people have a hard time visualizing what a house looks like with furniture in it. But again, this is why their marketing was so slick. What they really wanted you to do, all of the interiors were actually an advertisement for things you could buy at Sears. And I'll show you some. So I am not going to show you house number 146, but this is what your interior, your living room would have looked like. This is a slightly more modern house. This is a Dutch colonial. And so it starts out with, living room, beamed ceiling. I love the bedroom and the little bathroom over here. So you can see what your house looked like furnished. This is number 187. This is a bedroom. This again is the dining room and the living room. This is your kitchen, ladies. I love this. I actually redid a bathroom so it looks like this. This is the bathroom. Another fabulous little bathroom. So they even started to erect kit homes at people's state fairs. So when you'd go to the state fair, you could walk through a fully furnished Sears kit house. This is the 1910 Illinois State Fair. And being that I'm from Illinois, I believe this would have been Springfield, Illinois. So Sears was no idiot. They also marketed the concept of having a prefab building to corporations. So you could get all kinds of things. You could get a hospital building, which they marketed for World War I to the Red Cross. And companies who built company neighborhoods could buy an entire neighborhood of houses for their folks. This one down here is marketed to the Standard Oil Company. These are all Sears houses. I think most of these pictures are either Illinois or Ohio. But these are all Sears, and they're somewhat alike, but they're also all different. And how was it that Sears was this slick? Sears was this slick because they purchased their own lumber mills. Their production plan was amazing. So they bought their own lumber mills, and then they constructed their own factories. And in these factories ran a rail line. So they'd ship all this stuff to their factory. The lumber got received, cut, and stored. Here's another Sears Roebuck factory. It took about 2 box cars to send any house to its destination, and shipping was staggered so you didn't get all your building materials at the same time. I'm telling you, their marketing plan was amazing. So first, you would get like the exterior stuff of your home. You would get lumber framing, nails, building paper, and the last things you would get would be your built-ins, your millwork, and your bathtub. I frankly would have brought the bathtub in a little earlier, but you know. And because all of these homes were shipped by rail, where do you think almost all of them ended up? In places where they had a rail line, which is the Northeast and the Midwest. And that's why we have so many. There wasn't a lot of building going on in California at this time. Their rail system wasn't that good, although you can find a few of these homes in California and as far away as Alaska. So in addition to all of this, Sears made ordering these homes incredibly easy. If you did not want to go in, and I'll talk in just a second about the Sears sales offices, but if you didn't want to go in, you could actually do all this by mail. And this is your order blank. So they started to put sales offices up in the Midwest and East, and by 1930 there were about 48 sales offices in the country, staffed by about 350 of Sears employees. So our offices in Indiana were in Gary and Mishawaka. These offices, if you would come in, allowed you to do things that you probably couldn't do with just the order blank. And I'll show you this when we get to them. You could get all the different designs of the houses, plus you could do things like modify your floor plan, fill in a porch to be like a little sleeping room. You could reverse the house plan. So as we go through some of the houses, you'll see sometimes the door's on the right, sometimes it's on the left. So you could customize them. You could even bring in your own plans, and Sears would cut the things for you. Once you chose your plan, then you were assigned your own personal sales representative, a shipping schedule, and the instructions and the paint catalog. So they took really good care of their people. And Sears had this amazing guarantee. And as you can see right down here, if you don't like this baby, they will return the entire purchase price. I could not find one iota of information that anyone ever returned one of these homes. So, I talked to you a little bit before about what an honor-built home was. So, Basically what Sears would do, and again, this is marketing genius. Not everybody has the same amount of money. So they were marketing homes both to area and income. So there were 3 levels of pricing that you could do, and you could add on or subtract things depending on your budget. So the honor built home is the nicest. It includes quality wood and floors and trim. The standard is of a little less quality in that the joists were further apart, so they tended to build the standard built house where it was warmer and down south because it didn't need to be as warm in the winter time, and so they didn't need to put so much wood into the construction. And the simplex was the last, and that was the one that they used to build seasonal cottages, and that's why your seasonal cottage is so cheap. So let's talk a little bit about the actual houses. There was no named architect that designed these houses. Sears had their own staff of architects, and occasionally they would purchase plans from other people. Sometimes they would have contests. They actually had a contest for farmers to design farmhouses. They started out being identified by number. So there's 3 or 4 of the houses that I'll show you that are numbered. But by 1918, they were given these cute, sweet little cozy names. So you would buy a house with this nice little name that went along with it. Some of them also, you'll see, I don't know if you'll have a chance to get into that much detail, but some of them had different catalog numbers. One catalog number would be for the cost of an honor-built home. The second one would be for the standard-built home. And some of the finishes that you could get, you could add all kinds of stuff on. I like this. This is a sunroom or a sun porch, which some of the homes have instead of an open porch. You could also get stained glass windows, leaded glass windows, built-in bookcases, mantels, plate rails, beam ceilings, built-in buffets, carved staircases, and my favorite, the built-in ironing board. So let me show you a couple of pictures of these. So down here, this is your built-in buffet. I think that's a mirror. But here's your nice doors, and this door's actually in one of the photographs. Oh, I also have to thank the people that let me in their home. Just for you, and I'm fearless, I'll ask anybody anything. So I just went up to houses and started knocking on doors. And 2 people, well, actually 3 people let me in. I was a little worried about taking pictures of one of them, so I didn't. But the other 2, and I don't see them here, but God bless both of them. They let me in their home so that I could photograph their built-ins. And those 2 houses became 2 of my 3 favorite houses. But this one I like because how they got that on a rail car and didn't break it, I will never know. So those are all the different things that you could get. Really, the sky was the limit. And I'm sure if you wanted something they didn't have in a catalog, they would find it for you. So people ask me, how do you tell something is a Sears house? And you know, what I would tell you is don't ask me because I still can't. Unless it's obvious as blue blazes, I can't figure it out. I have to thank Arch and Krager Smith for the 2 lists I got. Here's the problem with identifying Sears houses. It really is not as easy as you think it would be. Number 1, Sears has no record of where they sent these homes. There's no record at all. The archives for Sears are located in Chicago, but not all of the catalogs even exist. There was a different catalog every year. Sears is missing themselves the following catalogs: 1909, 1910, 1915, 1923, and 1930. They're missing all of those. I don't even know if you could find them in a library. I'm assuming not, or they would have them in their archives. The other problem is, and you're going to be able to see this, and this is one of the takeaways, unless done really appropriately, aluminum siding is not your friend. A lot of these houses are no longer in their original form. They've been remodeled, they've been covered with aluminum siding, people have enclosed porches. The reversed floor plan isn't as hard, it's all the other exterior stuff. What can you look at? I mean, you can do what I did, and you can take the books I've got and drive up in front of people's houses and take the book and start looking at all the features, and I'll show you what I did when we get to the houses. You can look at the number of stories, you can look at the roof shape, you can look at where the front door is, dimensions, floor plan, where the dormers are. But the other thing, and I just didn't want to bother each of these women, but they say that you can still find numbers on the joists in the basement of some of these houses. And if anyone kept their plumbing fixtures, there is a little, they used to, I have a sink like this built or manufactured by Durheimer, who used to be down on Broadway. There's actually a little metal plaque sometimes on the sinks and stuff that say they're made by Sears. So you might be lucky enough to find that. So what happened? What happened to Sears kit houses? Well, first of all, the Depression and the crash of 1929 came. But Sears did manage to rebound from that. They managed to come back and report an incredible amount of sales. However, by right around 1940, for those of you who know your history, that's the beginning and the start of World War II, and things are starting to get a little bit inky. And by 1940, their profits had really, really dwindled, and the last catalog, the Book of Modern Homes, was printed in 1940. You could still get the stuff, but probably the last home built would have been about 1942. The lumber plant was sold, and their Department of Modern Homes was closed. So, what can I say about Sears? What I can say about them is they have a marketing concept and a product that still amazes me 100 and who knows how many years later. These homes never use controversial designs. They always attempted to please your normal, regular American buyer. And in doing so, they really were able to satisfy probably 100,000 people's dream of owning their own home. So, the National Trust book, Houses by Mail, says the following. Sears homes were appreciated then for their practical, economical designs and their solid materials, and they continue to be appreciated today for the same qualities. They estimate that about 70% of the Sears houses in the country still exist. So, let me start you off, and this is what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to show you the catalog picture, give you a little information about the house, and then show you the actual house in Fort Wayne, and we can toggle back and forth a little bit so you can kind of tell what it is about that house that identifies it as what's in the catalog. Does that make sense? All right, cool. Okay. So this is one of the earlier ones. This is Modern House 174. It was built it was available from 1911 to 1913 for a cost of $940. All right, here's what I want you to look at. All right, it's got a porch, but this to me is the most identifying feature. These second-story windows. And then this is actually a window seat in the dining room. So look at this right here. Because now I'm going to show you two houses. And these are interesting. These are right by the railroad tracks, kind of behind St. Francis. This is Wheeler. It's off Runyon. Is that ringing a bell to anybody? Anyway, and I put them together because they're side by side in this exact way. So look, they've filled in the front porch. One has a dormer, one does not. It still has this kind of configuration. But look at this. You cannot miss that second story window. See what I mean? You just can't miss those windows. And then the other thing that it has this bump out right here. So I actually talked to one of the people that owned this home, and she said that the fireplace, unfortunately, in these homes had been removed, but the window seat in the dining room remains. So here's how this would have looked. So you can get these extras, and it shows you. This is really important because some of the early lots were really narrow. So this is a house you can build on a narrow lot. Most of the houses around are built, I think, on at least a 50-foot lot, so 22 feet's pretty little. But you can, and I'm sorry I don't have time to let you read all of this, but anyway, these are all the things that you can get with it. This is your house plan, and again, if you want this house, here's your testimonial right there of somebody who has built this house. So that tells you that some real live person out there, it's kind of like when you go to the reviews and ratings online when you want to buy something and they give it a 5 out of 5. Well, this is the same thing. So this is your first floor. Here's your porch, stairway. Parlor's the same as a living room. Here's your window seat. That's where the fireplace used to be, kitchen, and then there's your upstairs. Next, and I will tell you this is one of my favorites. I found this house. If I could figure out who owned it, I'd buy it tomorrow. I'm sorry, Bruce. This is the 118. The 118 cost $1,575, a little more expensive, was built between 1911 and 1918. This is from one catalog, so I want you to look at this, look at the, wraparound porch, look at this. Another, sorry, that's not the greatest picture, another picture of the same house, still got your balcony, still got your nice wraparound porch. This home is on West Cook Road, and it is a beauty. So again, here's everything you can get. This is what it has. It tells you that there are pocket doors. It tells you it has a large bay window, sitting room, yada, 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 lovely oak, plate rail, all these goodies. There's your floor plan. I'm crazy. There it is. There's what used to be your fireplace. And this is nice because one of the things that sets off a more expensive home is the fact that you walk into a vestibule instead of walking right into your front room. And another thing that makes them more expensive is a separate living room and a separate dining room. These really tiny homes kind of combine the two. And here is another testimonial. Here it is in person. See what I mean when I say they enclose? So this has been enclosed. I think this is siding. So, but it still has the wraparound porch, and just for you, and because no one lives there, yes, I did clean off the windows and snoop through them and take pictures. I hope you appreciate that. This is another picture of it. This house, I don't know what it is about this place, but it just fascinated me. So here's me peeking in the front window. So here's your original stairway, and I don't know if you can tell, but this is all carved. And can you see the carving in here? Again, I'm a great snoop. This is looking on the side of the house. This is looking through the sitting room into your dining room. So your fireplace would have been right here. You can still tell it's got gorgeous woodwork. Somewhere in here was a pocket door. And this is looking from the front door through. This would be your kitchen right here. I think these are pocket doors right there. So that's on Cook Road. Next, this is the Langston. This was built between 1916 and 1922. It cost roughly between $800 and $1,900, depending on how many goodies. So I want you to look at this. Dormer and just the basic setup of the house. This house was built a bunch. So this is a Langston, and this house actually sits across from the first two houses I showed you with cool windows on the second floor. This sits directly across, and I'll bet you it's because of the proximity of the railroad tracks. But you can tell what's different. See, they've filled in the front porch. This is on Wheeler. This is on Curdy's. Same thing, they filled in the front porch. But you can tell it's still got some columns in here. But this one again's fallen on a little bit hard times. At least I didn't close the porch. But the next one's the gem. Look at this baby. This is on Home Avenue. And so see, look at these. Aren't these pretty? And they did a nice paint job, I think. I think they really did a nice job on this house. I was so taken with this and by everything under the eaves and by all this lovely work that I took 2 pictures. And then this particular day, I was really sick of taking pictures and really burned out. So there was one more on the list, and I wanted to blow it off so bad, but I didn't. So I took this last picture, and then I'll tell you why I was so glad I did. So here's another one, and this again is good. You know, you can still see these. It's got siding on it that looks crappy, and they've goofed up the dormer. But, okay, so then look what house this is. This was Bill Blass's childhood home. It's on Calhoun across from Southside. And I thought it was really nice in case you didn't know. Does everybody know what the Ghost Army is? Anybody not know what the Ghost Army is? Okay, the Ghost Army was a diversion they had during World War II where they would fool the enemy by putting like fake tanks that were like built out of plywood or cardboard or something, and they would fool the enemy by putting all this stuff all over when it actually didn't exist. And Bill Blass was a designer for the Ghost Army. So I was so glad that I did this house. This is the Americas. It's a little bit similar in the porch columns, but look at this. This is significant, and then you'll see this, how it juts out on the second floor. This house was built between 1921 and 1929 for between $2,000 and $2,200. And this house is located on Clara. The porch columns are not the same, but look at this right here. I'm going to try to somewhat speed up so I don't keep you here all day. Sorry. This is a cool house. This is number 190. This, again, is a cheaper home. And I mean not cheaper in price. I'm sure not cheaper in quality. But this was a house that could be built for a little less money. But this bay window on the second floor really shows. This was built between 1912 and 1913, and you could get this house for under $900 because it's a tiny house. There's only 3 rooms up, 3 rooms down. So again, this is a house where you would have had a combined, maybe a combined living room, dining room, maybe not, but it's not very big. This house is on Lawton Place. But see, look how you can tell. And it really is in, I mean, I don't like the aluminum siding, but it really looks pretty good. Next, this is the Argyle. And I happen to love bungalows. So my first favorite was the one on Cook Road. My last 2 favorites are at the end. But this is a lovely house plan. It's not a real huge house. It was built between 1916 and 1926, but you could spend anywhere from $827 to the $2,150 that's in the bottom of the thing. And again, it gives you all the goodies which you can get, but this is just adorable. And look at the details. Look at the rafter tails under the eaves. Look at this right. Look at that right there. Look how pretty this is. Okay, so this is on forest. And I will forgive them because I think they're trying out paint colors. And actually, I kind of like that one, but look how pretty this house is. Look at this. Look at that. It's exactly, wait, let me see if I can go backwards. All right, see? Same thing. Look how pretty that is. And I fell in love with this house, and since it's in my neighborhood, I took more than one picture. But look at this. Isn't this nice? I spent a lot of time doing this. I hate to tell you. It's been my life for the last 2 months. So, and now I want to give you, I don't think they're here. Now I want to show you what happens when you don't take care of your house. That's the same model. This is on Kentucky. This house has definitely fallen on hard times. It's interesting because it's stucco. Now, it may have been stucco originally. You can still tell a little bit, but it's had aluminum siding, so a lot of the good stuff has been removed and covered. It's still got just a little in here. So, next, this is the Princeville. This home was built between 1911 and 1918. You could spend anywhere from $800 to $1,800 on this house. And that, I'm assuming, is a window seat right here, but it's a pretty little house. Now, I'm going to show you this next picture. If you would have told me that was the next one is a Princeville, I never would have believed you. But look again, look at these columns. I know it's hard to tell, but there's 3 of them, okay? And then look at this, and remember you can reverse house plans. So remember you can have a reverse image of a house. This, again, is in my neighborhood. This is on Crescent Avenue. Would you ever know? You wouldn't. Again, aluminum siding, if not done appropriately, does not do your house a doggone bit of good. So you can still barely see. See the 3 columns? This is a reversed floor plan. See your window seat right here? This probably originally would have been a porch or an add-on. That's on Crescent. Next, this is the Belmont, and again, this is a pretty little one. It was built between 1916 and 1921, and it cost anywhere between $1,200 to $2,600. So you could add a lot of goodies on this house. But look at this. Look at all, and they're kind of hard to see, but the columns, and there's little rafter tails in here again. So this again is a house that people have valued its history, and this is on South Wayne. Isn't that cute? Okay, look. See? Look at look at that design, the same one that was on Forest. Your bracketing and your rafter tails under there. These have been painted. They were probably originally brick and unpainted. I also liked this house, so I took lots of pictures. But look, isn't this nice? And they've kept all of this. Look how pretty that is. All right, this is the one that was from the very beginning that had, I think, the testimonial on it. This is the Crescent. This was built between 1921 and 1933, anywhere between $1,351 to $2,410. And this was lucky enough that it shows the interiors in the catalog, so I thought I'd show you what their interior shot looked like. And I am assuming, I mean, this is obviously your living room, dining room. I love the kitchen. I would kill for that sink, by the way, in case anybody has an extra one of those. Bathroom, bedrooms, just a really cute little house. This house, again, check out these columns and the nice covered porch now. Look at that, isn't that pretty? Didn't they do a nice job keeping that up? So you can tell, this is one where you can tell, where the one with the mint green aluminum siding, this one's easy to pick out. This one is on, I don't remember the numerical, it's on South Wayne. This next one was built several times in Fort Wayne. It's called the Lewiston. This is your house. Not this exact one, but again, I think this may be one where they've flipped the floor plan a little bit. But some of the pretty things about this house, look at this right here. Look at that nice steep roof. These chimneys are gorgeous, and they all have that really pretty rounded arch door. So this house was built at least in 3 places in Fort Wayne that I could find. This one is on Eastbrook. This one is on Butler Road, and again, see your floor plan's been changed, or it's been reversed, the door's on the other side. But this, of course, is the nicest, and it's on Garland. But look how pretty this chimney is. Look at how nice the arch door is. You can tell this one. This is a nice house. And I was really into, at that point, into chimneys. Oops, sorry. I'm so sorry. But look how nice this chimney is. And there's nice stone down here, too. It's just really a pretty house. This one's on Garland. This is Irvington Park. For those of you who don't know, this beautiful little neighborhood tucked in off of West State Street, not too far from Spy Run and State. Beautiful little neighborhood. This is a Shercliffe designed neighborhood. It's a lovely neighborhood. Next one, this was built several times too. This is the Mitchell. It was built between 1928 and 1939. So you can see this different kind of house style comes up later into the 20s and into the 30s. It's a lot less bungalow, and it's more this cute little English cottage kind of style. At least that's what I call it. So anyway, there's a lot of these, and again, they reversed the floor plan. So again, oops, sorry, arch door, and all of these have beautiful chimneys. So this one is on Arlington. This one is on Beaver. See how they've changed they've reversed floor plans. This, again, I'm sorry, I just really like chimneys. I think they're so cool. But look at how pretty they put these chunks of limestone or whatever into these chimneys, and it gives them a real English cottagey kind of look. I find them very cute. And then this one, they must have paid a boatload for this because this one's brick. And I believe this house cost between $1,500 and $2,200. But this one, you got to look right here. In my last lecture, I was told doing a brick pattern like this is called a diaper pattern. I still can't wrap my hands around that concept. But I took an up close so you could see what I mean. See this? Isn't that pretty? And it's also right there. So they spent some money on this particular house. Next, this is the Van Gene, and this is an even different, this is much more a Dutch colonial, oops, I'm sorry. See your roof line right here? The next house, I did talk a little bit to the people who lived next door. This house was built the model was available between 1928 and 1929 for between $2,500 and $2,900. This is way on South Calhoun. So there's this house, and then there's 2 houses to the left of it. All around it and across the street are neighborhoods that are all 1-story houses. So the story on this house is the one to the immediate left was owned by the father. He owned all the land around it and built a house for each of his children on either side of him, and each lot has an acre. This is a big lot. Then he fell on hard times and sold all the surrounding land, and it became all those little subdivisions on South Calhoun, almost as you hit the Bearfield Thruway, right between, like, there's an apartment complex right past it. Anyway, you'll see it as you go out there. But anyway, this one's on South Calhoun, and again, it's a Dutch colonial. See the roof line right here. Okay, now we get to the really good stuff. These are my favorites, I admit it. This little beauty's called the Avondale. It was built between 1911 and 1922 for a cost of between $1,198 and $2,657. It is an absolutely killer bungalow. It's got nice features here. You can see that it has a basement that's built somewhat above ground, so it would have light down there. You have the ability to add stained and leaded glass windows to it. Has really nice work underneath the eaves. So this house is right around the corner for me, and I wanted to show you the floor plan because this is somewhat typical for these bungalows. You walk right into the living room. There is no vestibule in these homes. You walk right into the living room, and the floor plan of the next one I'll show you is actually just reversed. But you walk into the living room, then there's a dining room, kitchen, 3 bedrooms, bathroom. What you're going to see is between the living room and the dining room are beautiful built-ins right here. There's also a lovely fireplace right here. This home is owned by somebody that stripped all of this woodwork themselves, and this house is a peach. I enjoy the colors. The woodwork is fabulous. This is a good example of what, if you really work hard, you can get your house to look like. This is also a really good example, and I'm going to show you in the next one what I mean, that landscaping can either help or detract from your house, and I find her landscaping quite lovely. Look at these. This house is full of these, and they all match. See, here's another one. This is the bedroom. This is the living room, but look at these. She was kind enough to let me in her home. This is the fireplace. This is the original brick, original mantle. And again, look, either side you've got these good. So this is the side of the house. So you've got the same windows both on the front and the side of this house. This is in her dining room, and this is an example, even though I didn't get the greatest picture. This is all built in right here, and these are all leaded glass. See? Now, this is looking from the dining room into the living room, and this is what I mean. You see how they divide the rooms? Some of these will have bookcases on one side, some will not. Some will have leaded glass windows, some do not. Remember this, because the next one I'm going to show you is slightly different. But isn't that pretty? This one is on Florida Drive, I'm sorry. This is on Florida Drive near Forest Park Elementary School. These are interesting. These are a built-in in the back bedroom. I don't know if they built this house to make that back room an office, whether this was like a dresser or something, I have no idea. But all of this and all of this basic design is mirrored in all the windows throughout the house, which is what I mean when I say when you built one of these Sears houses, if you really wanted to put some money into one of these things, they had the things to sell you that would really increase the value of your house. And last, my second favorite. These are gorgeous homes. So this is the Osborne. It was built between 1916 and 1929, and you can see down here for about $2,800. So this is a little bit more expensive. This says it's stucco. None of the houses I found were stucco. It was shingle-sided, Spanish Mission architecture. Porches, bulkhead, trimmed with red brick coping. It is gorgeous. And that's all, see, it's all along in here. And these are little eyebrow-shaped drains on the front porch. So if you get water, I mean, they're decorative as well, but that means your front porch drains. This has been enclosed on both of these houses. This was a side porch. But remember this entry to the porch. It doesn't look fabulous in stucco. Wait till you see it in brick. So, that's your floor plan. Just slightly different from the last house, except not quite as big. So you got your porch. You go into the living room. There is no, they're showing you what furniture you could put in. Fireplace is right here. And again, you've got some really nice things in here between rooms. You've got a built-in buffet. So your bedrooms are on this side. In this house, there's only 2 of them, and then it goes back to the kitchen. I did not find a sleeping porch on either of them. So first, let me show you what this looks like with aluminum siding. This is on Indiana. This is also my example of how, I hope to God whoever owns this isn't here. This is what inappropriate landscaping, how it can detract from a home, whether it's historic or brand new. So this is the outside. It's all aluminum siding. They've lost all the interest under the eaves. Those are kind of ugly and new. It does still have that pretty entrance to the porch. This is very nice. Got a nice chimney, but see, they've enclosed this on the plan. And now you can see what bad landscaping does. See your pretty little eyebrow here? It's all covered by this tree. But there they are. See how that, so the shape is the same. It's the same house. Now I want to show you what happens when you do it right. This house was built these houses between 1916 and 1929, and this woman had never met me before in her life and let me in her house. God bless her. This house is a beauty. It's located on West Drive. Look at this. This house has kept all of the wood. This is beadboard underneath here. Look at these. And she has beautiful landscaping. She did it all herself. This is a little different because the color of the brick is that nice gold color. I am mesmerized by those, I'm sorry. I just thought they were incredibly cool, but look at this. Look how pretty this is. And look at the side entrance. Isn't that nice? And look at all this work underneath the eaves that's still there. I don't believe it was. I think a lot of the brickwork you had to buy and it was additional, which was why you come up with different colors. What's interesting on this house is the color of the brick on the chimney does not match the color of the brick on the rest of the house. But I think it's original. Look how pretty this is. Maybe this came with it and the front porch brick did not. I do not know. This is again the street shop, but you can see again they have enclosed this porch. But all of this work is all just beautiful. So wait till you see the inside. This is looking from the living room to the dining room. And again, remember, this is those built-ins that you can get that served as a divider between your rooms. So look at this. This is slightly different. My guess is, and those of you like Tom might disagree with me, my guess is a light fixture hung from that originally. Because see, you got the little snivy right here. But I think this is set up to have a little light fixture right here, and those are not there. This is her fireplace. She told me she regrets painting it black. I didn't tell her I regretted her painting it black as well. But she's kept everything in this house beautifully. The only thing that someone did before her is they put ceiling tiles over the box-beamed ceiling. And I don't know that she's going to spend the money to fix that, but the next owner can do it. But look how beautiful these built-ins. And these built-ins match the ones on the side that divide the living room and the dining room. So aren't these pretty? That's what they look like close up. And again, it's very similar leaded glass. It's a very similar pattern to some of the others. Look at that. That's her built-in dining room buffet. Same one that we saw, except whoever built this added leaded glass. Mirror in the middle. Look at the walls. Those are original too. And my guess is this came with, because here's your plate rail. And what people used to do is they would take their prettiest and most expensive plates and they would sit them all along this rail. And then they didn't have a lot of storage either. So then if you needed your platter, you just take it down off the wall. Look at her door. And there was a very similar door in the catalog, and I remember I showed you the picture with the doors. Very similar. These are French doors. This looks out to the enclosed porch, what would have originally been open, but I think on both these houses, this one looks as if it was built this way. I believe this one was built this way. Lastly, this is looking from her dining room into the front door. And again, look how beautiful this is. This is her original front door. Her fireplace is here. And again, I'm sure a pendant light of some sort hung right there. That concludes all my lovely photographs. I just wanted to say three things before maybe three or four. A couple of things. These are the truisms that I found. You can take them for exactly what you want to take them for. Number one, be careful with aluminum siding. It is not necessarily the friend to old homes. It can be done correctly. I put a lot of pictures in here of people who didn't do it that way. That's number one. Number two, I find the fact that people enclose their porches to be a very interesting comment on the social structure of our society. At some point when air conditioning came about, people stopped sitting on their front porch. They stopped neighboring with their neighbors. They stopped keeping an eyeball on what was going on in the street. And they began to look inward instead of outward. And all of a sudden, you don't know your neighbor and you got a bunch of crime. Big surprise. Uncover those porches and sit on those babies. And number three, and I heard this from everybody, these houses have stood the test of time. Everyone I talked to that lived in one said for being well over 100 years old, they're well built, they're snug, they're cozy, they don't have problems with them, they stay warm in the wintertime, they are good houses. I think this is a real testament that the style and the workmanship and the durability of a Sears house remains with us today, and if you are lucky enough to own one, they are probably worth more than every other similar house on your street. So, with that, thank you. I will get out my books in case anybody wants to flip through them. Again, if you feel the need to give a donation, I would love to have one, but you don't have to. Ball's up here. And does anybody have any questions? I'm not sure I'll know the answer, but I'll give it a shot. Yeah. Yes, they were, and that makes a huge difference. Yes. I think it has. And again, Sears marketed that exact thing when they sold these houses, and they marketed it to people as building a really strong, sturdy, livable, long-lasting home, and they were right. Sir? You know, the ones I was in were all different. The ceilings were not incredibly tall in those bungalows, maybe 8 feet, 9 feet at the most, maybe. They weren't real tall. They're a smaller footprint house, basically. Anybody else? Yeah, Kathy? Somebody keeps one, and I believe the National Trust keeps a registry as well, but Sears does not. I had a real hard time finding anything that looked to me like a bona fide registry, unfortunately. And I did, and even on my list, I drove by, there was nothing there anymore. One I drove by, and it's like, no, that's not what that is. So I think, what do you think, Tom, or I guess Krager's not here. Craig Leonard is. What do you think? National Trust have a list of these? Yeah, I honestly don't know. I think it's darn hard to find a list. Yeah. Yes. Connie wrote it, I believe. Didn't you, Connie? Several were listed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was a list that I actually worked from, and it's got roughly 60 to 65 houses on it. So there were a lot that I just had to stop. There was one that somebody painted purple that I was going to show you, just to show you inappropriate paint colors, but, my other half reminds me that I have an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, and I just need to know when to shut up, so I stopped. Yeah, somebody else. Yes. I did not see, in any of the houses I was in, there was not horsehair plaster. The only house I have ever seen in my entire life that had horsehair plaster was one that I lived in from the 1830s. I think that by the time these were built, I do not believe they used horsehair. I'm not sure, frankly, they're all that well insulated. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, they're none. I've got a house from the 20s. It does not have 1 ounce of insulation in it. It was pretty much lath on plaster. Plaster on lath, sorry. I believe they did, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I believe so, yeah. On some of those, the kind of English cottagey looking one, yeah, there's a second floor to those. Anybody else? Yeah. No, not Sears. Sears was wood. They used stucco, they used brick, but I did not, nothing in any of the catalogs shows concrete block. Yeah. That's a really good question, and I honestly do not know that. My guess is that if you hired a contractor, they'd get a wagon and haul them out. I think that's also why there were those 3 on Wheeler really close to those railroad tracks, because, boy, it was just, a couple 100 feet away. Also, they were almost exclusively either in the 05 or the 07, and I think that's because that's when those neighborhoods were built. There were a few, like the one I showed you way out on Calhoun, but all the bungalows and the little cottagey style ones, they were almost exclusively in the 05 and the 07. Connie? Yeah. Mm-hmm. To haul it, yeah. Yeah, Teamster back then did not mean union member. It meant somebody that drove a team. Anybody else? Yeah, Craig? Really? Okay. Interesting. Anybody else? Thank you again so much. I really appreciate it. You've been a great audience. Thank you. Don't forget you can buy home tour tickets and memberships